Guys, couldn't be more excited about bringing one of the most beautiful people from our dedicated layer one at SwissBorg, Galactica. Very excited to have you back, Mike. And of course, I think you all know Alex.
Hi, pleasure being here. Thank you so much, Sai.
So, I think so. The good idea here is a bit to talk about, how you guys are different. Talk about the main problem that we're having and in this wonderful industry of crypto, and maybe just quickly a few words. Introduce yourself, both of you, and like that, everyone knows who you guys are.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess, So Mike, my name is Mike. Nickname Sarvadaya. You guys should check what it means. It's kind of cool. I'm one of the founders at Galactica. I guess you can call me a CEO of it. And basically, I'm mostly responsible for strategic and some economic matters. That's the idea.
Some of you might recognize me. I used to be senior growth manager at SwissBorg, and then Sai and Misha here introduced me to Galactica, and I had to take the opportunity to join a very exciting protocol that I would argue are actually solving some of the main hurdles that we have, and probably one of the ethos that a lot of us joined crypto for. So very excited to be here and discuss how we're solving this problem and some of the use cases that get unlocked with this new technology.
I think so that you phrased it very well, Alex. I think so that there's many hurdles, operations, killer apps, but there's a lot of different issues that we don't always talk about within the crypto industry. I know in 2017, our first video was all about these different issues that probably many of them are still here today. Mike, walk us through maybe what you think is the biggest problems we have for now.
Yeah, definitely. I guess some little historical background might make sense just for a reference point. So basically, look, why Bitcoin has had so much success. Most important thing it has done is that it created an independent central bank, right? So a monetary institution, in other words. So basically, Bitcoin is independent money, right? If to boil it down to something super simple. So Ethereum, for all of its cool use cases, really like a lot of traction today exists in DeFi, and basically DeFi is independent finance. So basically the way DeFi works is that it just allows you for the existence of independent financial institutions, just like Bitcoin has done for money. And so basically the idea and the big unresolved space for issues that exists in Web3, I guess today still, is the social institutions. So everything social, the social systems cannot be built reliably on a blockchain for a very basic reason that public blockchains necessarily have to be, in order to remain permissionless, they have to be anonymous. And that's pseudonymous rather. And that's the big contradiction in terms. That's why it's very difficult to create identities on a blockchain reliably, because blockchains must be faceless, right? And the thing is that there are lots of use cases, and we will delve into those use cases a little bit later, but there are lots of use cases that can be opened if you just could create identities on a blockchain. And only recently it has actually become possible because of developments in a lot of very exciting areas of modern cryptography, and I'm going to get into that as well, I guess. But this is, to boil it down to something very short, Bitcoin, like human civilization, consists of money, finance, and social institutions. So basically, Bitcoin has solved for money, Ethereum has solved for finance, and now Galactica is coming there to solve for all the things social. You see, in order to build social systems, you need humans or souls or subjects, in a sense. And this is why we, in the end up in the problem of the identity. In order to build social primitives, you need the identity, and you have to solve for the identity. And basically, what is an identity in the Web3 space? It's actually not a trivial question, but all in all, the identity in the Web3 space is the data that you have generated. So basically, your personal data, your digital footprint, is what makes up the identity, and that's how you can define a human on a blockchain. All the other things, all the KYCs, iris scans, and all the other stuff of this world, it does not work because it's easily fakeable. So what is very difficult to fake is a social work. So basically, all your digital footprints, all of the things which you have done on the blockchain, etc. This is extremely difficult to fake. And that's why basically in order to solve for identity, you need to solve for personal data. And that's basically the focus of Galactica. Now, importantly, I guess I should note that data is the most valuable asset, and it is almost criminally not used in Web3 today, or is not the focus of Web3, even though it should be. So basically, all the Googles, Facebooks, Meta, I guess, of this world, they do live on monetizing your personal data. And this has generated the most successful business model of all times. And you can check that. It's not just a flashy statement, but it is a, well, yeah, it's the most profitable business model ever created. And basically, Galactica, by solving for identity and by leveraging data as the way to do so, we are tapping into this market. That's our focus, basically. The data is the TVL. It's not really the tokens that come and go, not the liquidity. All of that stuff is important, but it's, you know, today it's here, tomorrow it's there, etc. Data is extremely sticky, so it will remain with, well, the network that kind of like where you have uploaded it. And yeah, so they basically, that's what Galactica is, I guess. That's the nice way to put
Does that resonate to yourself, Alex?
Very much so. I was about to jump. Because this is really like a movement, right? This is, for the first time ever, you're going to be able to be the sovereign owner and to actually monetize this data, which you have been robbed of before. And this is exciting for a lot of different reasons, right? Cyrus gave us a great quote as we were speaking before, and it was that billions of people participated in the Web2 solutions, but only a handful of people became billionaires. And what we're going to do now in Web3 is essentially allow millions of people to become millionaires because they're going to have the sovereign ownership over their own data. Not only that, but this data is going to be more valuable because in Web2, the data is fractionalized. So you have silos of data that we essentially need to build assumptions on to make it more valuable. So if I search on BMW on Google, for example, Google is going to make the assumption that I want to buy a car and sell that data to car dealers. Whereas I might actually just be looking at the new cool design of the car. What we're enabling here is for you, the individual who is the source of all the data, to own it and make it more valuable, because people now don't need to do these assumptions because you're uploading a wealth of data rather than individual data silos. And this is how we're going to make millions of millionaires in Web3.
Yeah, I love that quote. I mean, it really is the thing that resonates the most. I mean, when I got into the space in 2016, with Steemit, for example, was one of the first SocialFi platform. I really thought this was going to be one of the biggest thing, and then Deepin too, but and of course DeFi. But really, I was always thinking that the revolution was finally giving ownership to data and fairly getting rewarded with that. That's for me a noble cause, because you could spread this data in so many different other angles, and we already have so much data that is valuable, but that we cannot really tap into as of for now. Would it make sense as the next step to look more into how this data could be more valuable to each people?
I guess so. So basically, first of all, I think I should note that all this stuff about airdrops and all the point systems and buying and selling those point systems on points, I guess, on secondary markets, all of that are basically just cheap and dirty solutions to the same issue. So basically, why do we need point systems to allocate airdrops? Well, we need it in order to quantify your value as an individual for the project, presumably, and then to, on the basis of that, distribute certain well, tokens, I guess, to you. And so basically all of those point systems, most of them are built basically on backends. They are obviously, well, not visible for other projects, and they're not really a part of the protocol. But all in all, they're trying to solve for the same issue. So basically that's I guess, well, a big movement of the industry towards realizing how important this data is, but it's not really a solution. It's just like quick and dirty fixes in a sense. So for Galactica, those points, they exist natively on the protocol. That's very important. But all in all, yeah, I guess I can quickly give maybe a very basic use case, just like, I mean, apart from airdrops, that's obviously like a nice use case, but, you know, imagine that you own a restaurant, right? And let's say it's an extreme, it's like whatever in the Michelin guide, and it's extremely expensive, and, you know, it's a cool restaurant. And for you, it's obviously a problem of how to attract people to this restaurant. So basically, it would be super cool if you could hyper-target, in a sense, or target in a hyper-precise way. Let's say someone who can prove that he is a or she is a Binance high roller. Let's say you have it in Dubai, so it would be, of course, relevant whether the person lives in Dubai. So, and let's say maybe a couple of other things, that the person has been in that restaurant, this restaurant, etc., and has a nice reputation in both of them. So basically, if you could just have your way to such a person, then probably you would be willing to pay $1,000 just for as a welcome bonus to that person, right? And so basically, one of the things which enables this transaction to happen is the data, right? Because it is the data that you live in the Emirates, it is the data that you are a Binance high roller, and it is the data that you haven't really trashed restaurants in the area before, that makes you such a valuable customer, allowing the restaurant to really pay $1,000 just to get you on board, right? Because your value to them obviously is more than $1,000.
Let's say that you're just say that you're launching a new DEX, right? If you as a DEX could actually target the top 5% of traders on Binance, or maybe you actually want to target the top 5% of traders that lose the most money on Binance, depending on how your moral compass is configured. Or say that you want to have access to under-collateralized lending, right? If I can show that I've done all of my Aave repayments on time, I can show that I have X assets in DeFi working for me, I can show that I have X tokens staked in SEXes or at MEXes. All of that increases the data points that you as a lender would have on me, thereby increasing my trust. And I think this is just the beginning. When we're talking about improving existing use cases, there's some really, really exciting, completely new use cases that are enabled when you have this direct peer data market.
And on that one, what I always said is that, I'll say it's a bold statement, but 90% of people that have governance tokens don't vote. It is as easy as that. Like, if I was now doing an airdrop campaign regardless of the project, I would target only people that participate in voting in the mechanism, and I would give them most of the tokens. The reason is that because if you start voting, you're passing initiatives. If you're passing initiatives, that means you're very active. If you're very active, most probably you're a good hodler. So, I think so there's so many different ways to actually be able to reward it, as Mike said, in the off-chain world. So for the common thing that Galactica will empower, restaurants maybe in a couple of years from now, for exactly use cases, as you said, Alex, for updating your off-chain data books from Binance or SwissBorg as trading, or even today on-chain for just people that have been very good at providing governance initiatives, or at least voting initiatives within different DAOs. Yeah.
And sorry, just building on that as well, imagine that you're a launchpad and that you could actually see, okay, I want to target the people that out of the last 5 investments they've made, they're still holding 3 of them. And not only that, we can look at their social graph so that we can see, oh, they're still active on their Twitter. They're still following the founders. They're actually producing content that are generating new awareness and new users to this project. That user, to get them on board on the launchpad in this new project, is maybe 10 or 100 times more valuable than the person that is literally just looking at, okay, what is the FDV, how much is realized at TGE, and how quickly can I turn this and drop this bag on somebody else less knowing that haven't done the due diligence, right? So I think
100%.
What we're doing here is really, or what Misha and the team has been able to do, is build some of the tools that can dramatically change the focus and the culture within the space, and bring it back to the ethos of why I think a lot of us got into crypto, and not so much of this, in the lack of a better term, copying and pasting of dApps from different chains to others.
So you gave a great example, Alex. I gave one as well. But Mike, what would be your use case that would work very well, for example, for a launchpad or something like that?
Guys, would you imagine a launchpad that has no token? Right. So basically, what if I told you that the real value of a particular person to the project can be measured in the social input that the person is doing, of pretty much any other input. But your ownership of a launchpad tokens really projects nothing about your value to the project. And so basically, imagine a launchpad on which the actual utility units that you as a user have is your social capital, is your reputation. So for example, if you have done a lot of cool stuff on Twitter for the project and you have never sold the token of the IDOs you have purchased in the past and pretty much some other terms, then a project could expect a lot of value from you and can give you value in return by giving you, for example, a lower FDV allocation, right? So basically, if you scale that up, you can think about this as a ultimate influencer launchpad in a sense, where anyone is an influencer, right? So basically, if you have provided a lot of social capital to the project, then the project is, well, ready to reward you, presumably with the better terms on the on a given token sale. And this thing will create a much more meritocratic system that will create correct incentives for people to behave in a mutually beneficial way for themselves and for the projects, and create a much better ecosystem. It's something so simple, right? But nobody has figured this out in the
100%.
past. And
when you would see all the bad things happening from Alameda and all that, it's because people are behind screens, right? And behind screens, there's even a mask on it. But if you meet people in real life, usually I think so human beings are actually social animals that are nice. So if you're able in some way to keep this privacy, but in some way reward good behavior, that for me is the best thing. I love the use cases from both of you. Now let's maybe go into more the specifics in terms of technology, because this is a layer one. This is not an application, guys. This is something that has been building for years, and I couldn't be more excited than dig into the specificities of this.
so basically, this is a very simple diagram, which just basically shows you the off-chain component, protocol component, and then what is possible on top of that protocol. So basically, think about it this way. You have your Web2 data. So it can be anything. It can be your Google search history, your Facebook actions, your Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, pretty much all the social graph that you have across your social media. So it can be all kinds of stuff which is stored in all kinds of centralized applications, be it Coinbase, or be it SwissBorg for that matter, or pretty much anything else. So all those actions that you have done with those apps and with those platforms, they form your digital self. This is your digital footprint. And so what we have as the first thing on the blockchain is something that's called Guardian nodes. SwissBorg be one of them, which basically just take the data that you upload and then in an anonymous manner create proofs on the blockchain that a particular address holds that data. Very importantly, Guardians cannot associate the data they verify with the address that they approve. So there is a lot of cool cryptography there, and the idea is that Guardians, so for example, assume I post, I don't know, my Twitter data. So a Guardian verifies certain publicly verifiable things about my Twitter data, posts a hash on a blockchain, but is not capable of associating that data with my on-chain activity. So that's the very, very important thing, number one. So the second thing, which is also, in a sense, quite cool, is that once this data is uploaded, it is uploaded into a digital passport, basically a private encrypted vault from which a person can generate proofs about the data that the person has uploaded. So a very important thing is that, and that's something that no one has figured out, is that the data you generate your proofs on has to remain private it shouldn't be possible for someone with a block explorer to profile you just from the nature of proofs you are generating. But at the same time, you should not be able to generate proof only about some data. So if a particular app requires you to generate a proof about everything you have, then you must be able to prove that you are not excluding anything from the proofs you are generating. So basically, it must be verifiable yet private. And so this particular thing is extremely sophisticated problem, even though it sounds kind of easy. And the best example, I guess, to just explain what it is assume you have a credit rating case. So somebody wants to give you a loan, and your collateral will depend, obviously, on the credit rating you possess, if that makes sense. So if I, as a person who proves, can generate a proof about my credit worthiness only on some of my addresses, then this credit worthiness proof is worth nothing, right? Because I can always exclude those addresses where I have defaulted, for example. And from the other hand, if I'm always forced to generate these proofs across all of my addresses, I should kind of disclose them, because otherwise it's very difficult to say which addresses belong to me. And once I do that, then it's not private anymore. So basically, the only way to solve it is through fully homomorphic encryption, and that's one of the fanciest, hottest things in modern cryptography. And well, I'm not going to go deeper into that, but basically, yeah, that's why we don't have identity stack in Web3. This has been quite a sophisticated problem to solve. So basically,
if people don't know what FHE is, please check it out. Any tech guy is literally being more excited. Vitalik was tweeting about it last week, and the great thing is that with Galactica, it's already included in it. So this is something that is a massive game changer. And in some way, it's how to do zero knowledge in some way, but fully decentralized. Is this okay enough, Mike, as definition? No.
Let me add a little bit there. So basically, there are three cornerstones of modern cryptography: MPC, ZK, and FHE. So basically, MPC allows you to compute certain stuff with several parties without any one party being able to compute it. Very easy. ZK is a way for me to prove something to you without disclosing anything about the data about which I generate the proof. And FHE is the way for me to compute something over encrypted data without decrypting it first. That's it. So basically, that's the most important core idea. I can compute stuff over the data without decrypting it, while leaving it private, basically. So that's the idea. And so basically, just quickly about this tech stack, just to wrap it up. Basically, what we have afterwards is RRC. So it's something we call root reputation contract. Is basically just a way for people to create reputation functions which take as an input all the data points you have uploaded and generate certain output. And then basically the dApps can use that output to fine-tune their interactions, depending on how cool you are. So for example, your allocation can depend on your social score. That will be done through the RRC. And so basically, yeah, that creates like the Internet of Souls, the blockchain of souls, rather than just faceless addresses. And this creates like a whole myriad of new use cases which are not attainable today. So starting from things like UBI, all those real-world assets that everyone is talking about, and yet there is nothing but tokenized yield from T-bills in Web3. So we can solve for that, I guess. Imagine trading GameStop over the night, right? So that would be cool. So under collateralized lending, so all that stuff that creates efficiency in the traditional finance systems, we can move on to Web3 with this technology. No one has under collateralized lending in DeFi, except for Maple. But that's not really that. And yeah, that's why. So because the identity stack hasn't been figured out. So I hope that gives you an idea.
Alex, we took a lot. Do you want to sum this up in 30 seconds or not?
I will do my absolute best. So I think you said so much beautiful stuff, Misha. One thing that I just want to clarify is think about the reputations that we're building, maybe using this analogy. You have two different routes to go. You can have it centralized. Everybody has sort of one reputation framework. And then you have the Chinese government, right? They say, well, what is good, what is bad, and everybody needs to follow that, and then you have a very gloomy future. And what we have done at Galactica is essentially to turn that around and turn it on its head. So what we want is a world where you as the individual can move around, and essentially you can go to platforms where your reputation is rewarded. And if you don't like that dApp, you can actually take all your stuff from that dApp and go to another dApp that has another weight on the reputation that better suits you. So in this paradigm, rather than there being one central actor that says this is good, this is bad, you actually have a myriad of different dApps that are valuing reputation differently, so that you as the individual get to compete about you as the individual, and you can move between them rather than being imposed on you. So maybe that's another way to see it as well in a concrete example.
That's a great one. I was hoping you to sum it up, though, but you brought a new angle, which is really great. I'll try to sum it up just quickly. Web 2, we will have different guardians from there, and like SwissBorg could be one of those. We'll be able to take that data. You'll be able to take that data, verify that data through the guardians. Then essentially what Galactica has built is to create that bridge between that data and transplant it into Web3. And that is done with zero knowledge, it's done with FHE. It's really permissionless, so you have to upload it, and you actually keep those data just verified by the unfortunately the guardians. And then there's the whole identity with the reputation that happens through essentially the wonderful GNet protocol. The GNet protocol will then enable a lot of new applications to build a new way of functioning through a very meritocratic and a more, let's say, long-term perspective, which is great. Because when you are rewarded for the right things, then you attract the right people. And I think so that's what we've been doing with SwissBorg now for 7 years. Is there any specifics, Mike or Alex, that we should go through the technicalities? I know this was built on top of Cosmos, so it's EVM compatible, which is really great. It's great for integration. Is there other things you want to know the audience here?
Yeah, I guess so. So several important things, I guess. The first one is that when we all talk about this uploading your Web2 footprint or whatever, your data into Galactica, we obviously do not speak about actually uploading your data. So all the data that makes its way onto Galactica is encrypted, never stored obviously by anyone. Well, there is no such entity on Galactica that can store it. And the only party that verifies it, being the guardians, they cannot associate a given Web2 data. A very important thing, I guess, to note is that all the data that makes its way into your private passport is encrypted. So that's the person who creates the account is the only person who has access to this data. That's very important. All that stuff is stored locally, and guardians, who are the only entities on the blockchain that see that data, they don't know which account it belongs to. So that's one very important thing, I guess, to notice. The second very important thing is that we have been working a lot on the user experience, and FHE has been instrumental in allowing us to make people create those zero-knowledge proofs about their reputation without overheating and overloading their device. That's very important, because zero-knowledge proofs are quite complicated technologically, and they're compute-intensive. And so basically the way we have built the system is that all that compute is being done on the side of the validators, even though the data is stored locally with you. And that's really not something that anyone, to the best of my knowledge, has in the space. So it was instrumental for us, the Cosmos stack. So it's one of the best technologies out there. It's one of the best technological communities. And so we are super thankful to those guys and to their open source ethos. So basically, as Cyrus has mentioned, it's EVM compatible, because if you want adoption these days, I guess that's the way to go. Also, it has a lot of nice research, very nice community, etc., etc. So, and I guess, yeah, that's the most important thing that I wanted to say.
As you guys know, Galactica is SwissBorg official layer 1, and for this exact reason, we are going to be able to offer the best deal on the table for you, the Borgers, and of course, we'll do with the Borger rank and all that. Mike, Alex, walk us through this beautiful alpha deal.
Yeah, so basically the idea is simple. It's a deal at 8.5 cents, which makes the FDV of 85 million. So this is the only time this deal will be at the table or will be offered across public platforms. So basically it's only for the founding members at Galactica. And yeah, so it's a regular vesting, something you would expect. So 3 months cliff, 24 months linear, 7.5% unlock. And yeah, it's 8.5 cents. All the follow-up rounds will be at double to quadruple valuation to this. So it's an exclusive deal. And given how thankful we are to SwissBorg for all of their efforts during these years, well, that's why Borgers get that deal, I guess.
100%. Alex, you want to add something to this?
Well, yeah, just this is quite a once in a lifetime opportunity to enter into nearly an infra of other infra projects lower than $100 million FDV. This is an incredible opportunity. I'm definitely participating in it myself to increase my bag on it via the SwissBorg Alpha, and very amazing to have SwissBorg a part of this, and the SwissBorg community, which is an incredible community to get feedback from and to have iterate on early product or MVPs. So very excited to have this opportunity together with SwissBorg and its community.
Perfect. So I think that what is really paramount here with Galactica is, SwissBorg, we came from the traditional world, right? And our huge mission was to merge the off-chain world, the on-chain world. And we've done this recently with Solana, right? How we plugged in these new DEXs. But that, again, is the financialization of data, I think so, of just crypto itself, right? And it is great. But I think so the next big chapter is really how to, as we said, how to bring everything from the on-chain world. So all your data, but as well the tokenization. And the tokenization of all these different things could only happen if you are compliant, but you respect privacy at the same time. And I think so this has been really very much the thing I've been looking into for the last 7 years, is how to finally build a layer 1 that is clean, that is great, that has great people, that has reputation on it, but as well will be compliant, and how you'll be able to, bringing STOs to comply with STOs in the best way, and how you could eventually tokenize SwissBorg in this way. And I think so for that reason, Galactica is the layer 1 of SwissBorg, and I'm very confident that, already in its early days has been able to demonstrate a lot of great things. If I'm not mistaken, in the few last days we had 60 or 60,000 wallets have been already went through test nets, have minted GNets, have uploaded their KYC in a good fashion. Is that correct?
Exactly. This is quite exciting. We've gone from 127 users in the DevNet, and then in roughly 5 weeks, we've gone from that to over 60,000 wallets now on testnet. And we can see that they're active both on Discord, in Twitter. If you're heading over to Twitter or X, use the hashtag GNet, and you will see an amazing plethora of UGC and content creation from our community on all the different aspects that is Galactica.
Will there be any bonuses for the people doing these wonderful quests?
There might be some bonuses, and there might be some exclusive bonuses just for the SwissBorg community, because we know that they're diamond hand community members that add value in so many different ways. So there might be some extra perks for the SwissBorg community in this alpha.
I guess cool stuff is that maybe we should hint at as well is that all those cool perks, they will actually be realized using native functionality of Galactica. So basically that's probably also something quite cool. So all those things, all those social contributions, they will be used in the reputation functions themselves on Galactica.
Maybe last words for the end from many of you too.
Guys, I guess I would like to say real quick that we extremely grateful to our community. So it means the world to us. Like every time I open Discord, I open Twitter, I check the stats on the testnet, it just pretty much keeps my day going in a sense. And so it's very important, that in this time of the launch, we get as much support as possible, and we do. And that's why it's super important, I guess, to thank everyone who has been with us since the beginning or, joined later down the road. It means the world.
And maybe to share something, if you are excited about this technology and if you want to look at a project that is pushing stuff quickly, then invest some time in Galactica. Just to give one example, it's something that is going to come up in the next couple of days, weeks, but one of our strategic partners took what we're doing and literally went from idea into production in roughly 2.5 weeks. You're going to have more information on that product as it's being released, but it's currently already in production. It's working. We're looking at the data, and it's so exciting to be allowing people to on-ramp to this technology and to see how they're using it and how they're taking it from idea to production in a matter of weeks. And it's quite, this use case is quite groundbreaking, and I think that you're going to see it both on our X and maybe on SwissBorg's and a couple of strategic partners in the next coming days. So if you're excited about this tech and look forward to seeing projects move quickly, then definitely Galactica is the place to be right now.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mike and Alex. This was definitely a great show. I hope you guys enjoyed this too. And looking forward to our private sale that's going to happen very shortly.
Likewise, my man. Thank you, guys.